Okay, welcome back after the New Year celebrations. Okay, we are in 2013 now, right? So have a stick year ahead. Wish you a happy New Year to everyone. In this session, we are going to discuss about roles. Now we have a couple of things pending. I still remember that is KPIs, actions, aggregations, calculations, and roles. These are the 5 things that are pending on SSAS part. So we'll try to cover it at their list. First, we'll start with roles, and we'll try to cover a couple of other things like calculations and aggregations, or aggregations alone. Or if time permits, we can cover more. And in tomorrow's session, we can close it. Okay. Roles. These are mainly used for providing security. Security to your queue. What kind of security it can provide? It can provide security at the leaf level of the data. If you have a country column in a dimension table, let's say dimension table, or let's go to product table. You have how many colors? 10 to 15 different color products in the color attribute. If you drag and drop color, you can see different colors. So you can restrict users from seeing different colors. Let's say people from Africa, if they logs in, people from India, if they logs in, they can see only red color. So you can set such kind of security here. So if you select color here, instead of showing all color products, you can show only gray color products to some set of people. You can show only red color products to some set of people. You can show only white color products to some set of people. So this is the fantastic option we have in SSAS. Using roles, you can provide security to your cube and data in the cube. Let's see how to create the roles and what is the challenge we have and how to add members to it. Okay. And creating roles, if anyone asks you any questions like what is a role and what do you know about roles, you just answer this. What I need to know in the roles. Role is a simple wizard provided by Microsoft to provide security to your cube and data. So it's a simple wizard. It's like next, 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 add, uncheck, check. Very simple one. There is nothing to know here. Okay. Let's start with creating the roles. So to create a role, right click and click on new role. Here you have 3 set of permissions. Full control. If I select full control, automatically the 2 is also checked, right? You can see that. If I uncheck one thing, the full control is getting unchecked. So you can have either full control, that is one kind of role. Second one is only process database. Third one is only read definition. So write definition, you will not have this option. Under full control it will come. Why? Because you don't write back the data to your queue. Very rare cases you will write the data back to the queue. Very, very, very rare cases. I can say it's negligible. Okay. Full control will have full control over the cube solution. That means the person who has this full control can process the cube, can read the cube, read the data from the cube. The second option, process database. If you have this, the user can only process the database. The user or the members added to this particular role can only process the database. Third one is a read definition, where he can read the definition of the database, that is, and also read the data from the cube database. And you cannot set the role name here. Always it will be role 1, role 2, role 3. Okay. First, what people will do, in real time, I'm talking about real time scenario. What people will do is they will just create the roles while developing the cube, and the client side people add the members to it. Let me show you an example. First, let me show you how to create a role. I'm creating a role with full access. Okay. And the name is role. If you want to give any description, you can provide it. Members with this role will have process and read data permissions. Some information for your reference in future. If you see the role name, you should understand, right, what this is meant for. And the next tab, that is membership. If you add some members, those members will be assigned to this particular role. For example, if I add Sachin Tendulkar, who is working in my company, then Sachin Tendulkar will have full access in the database in this particular cube. If I add Dhoni or some XYZ will have that particular access. How to add it? It's pretty simple. What is the name? I think it's Lenovo-PC, my computer name. Let me check whether it is there or not. It is not there. Let me check this. I don't know any users here. Okay, fine. Let's say I have, I'll go for everyone, which means it will for everyone. If I click on OK, everyone can have admin access to this queue. In the same way, you can add different users. How to add a user? Simply select here, rupesh.valluru is my username. If I click on check names, it will get my complete user login details. If I click on OK, this user will be added to this particular members list. So that means rupesh.valluru will have access to this complete cube, this particular cube, and he will have full control over the database, this particular cube database. So if you select full control, you can see the remaining things are grayed out. You cannot set the permissions, like you will have full access. You are the king of the cube. You can process whenever you want. You can read the data whatever you want. So this is the role called admin, full control database permissions. So how to save this? Close this or right click, use the save button and click on save. Now this particular role is saved. Here to change the names, okay, what people will do is they will rename here. They cannot give the role name. Role name will be taken as role 1, role 2, role 3 and so on. So this is the place where you can give the role name. Full control. Okay. And if you go and see the code, you can see still the ID is role. Go and change it to full control so that both are in sync. Both will be in sync, the ID and the name. So this is the full control role. Now let me create one more role where people can process the database. Okay. So members, we can add it later. I will show you how. Data sources, you can see the read definition is not required. The access, this is fine. You can see the process is checked by default. That means this guy has access to process the cube. Cell data is nothing for processing the cube, and processing the dimensions he has process option checked here, and you cannot change it. Why? Because you select the process option there. If you want to provide read permission also, you can give that like this. For the cube also, the one which you selected here is process database. That means by default processing of the cube will be selected. Okay. And access wise, if you see nothing, you can select read if you want. Okay. Or if you select the read definition here, then you will have these options by default checked. Here if you see the read definition is checked. So read definition and process, these are the two different things. If you select process, then processing of the dimensions will be checked, processing of the cubes will be checked. And if you select the read, then read will be, read definition will be checked. I don't want that now. So I'll create only for processing the cube. So to whom this one will be useful? The guy who knows only processing of the cube, or I can call them as admin guys who don't know what to browse and how to browse, whose job is to process the cube in regular intervals. So for them, we have to assign process data role, process database role. And dimensions, Process is there. This is what I checked, so I'm unchecking it. Dimension data is not related for this processing. Why? Because this is related to read definition. We'll come back to that. So whenever you are giving process database option, you have to make sure, this will be by default checked. Process of the cube and process of the dimensions. Okay. Now let me save this. And let me rename the role. I'll rename it to process database. So I will change the ID also. This is done. Now I've created two roles. One is full control. The guys who added to this full control will have full control over the cube, like processing the cube and reading the data from the cube. And process database role, if you add members to this, they can only process the cube. And typically people will go for three roles. One is full control, another one is process database, and the third one is read definition. So if you see here, the read definition is checked, right? And for the cube, the process is unchecked now. Okay, the read definition, you can set whether you read or read write. Cell data, if you want to restrict a particular cell, when you become familiar with MDX, you have to go for MDX first before coming to this. And this is nothing. People don't use this much. If you want to restrict a particular cell content, like combinations, either India to what is the product that is banned in India? India and aspirin, that combination should not be shown in the cube. So you can filter it out here. Okay, we'll come back to this once we finish our MDX sessions. And if you see the dimensions, the read definition is set and the process is unchecked now. Why? Because I have selected the definition on the first tab, that is general tab. And the dimension data, this is the fantastic option. You can restrict a particular attribute, columns or members also. Members mean the values that are present in a particular attribute. For example, if you see color, okay, if you see under advanced, allow member set and denied member set is there. So if you uncheck this thing, multi, black, not applicable, red, silver, I'm giving only blue and white. Okay. If you go and see the advanced, the denied member list is given. Whatever the things that I unchecked, so those will be added to the denied member list. That means these should not be shown. If I'm added to this particular role, then I cannot see these particular color products. Let me show you an example here. Okay, so this is how you can filter out. You can filter out some products. If you can filter whatever. The main point here is you can filter out, or you can restrict, or you can provide the security to the data at leaf level, at the attribute member level. That is the least level, right? We have. So you can provide up to that level. So for color is the best example, and let's go for one more. Yeah, this is enough for now. And let me save this role. So I'm renaming it. So I'll take read access. And I'll copy the same in the ID part. So I've created three roles. I've not added any member to this. So, oops. One second. Is it read access or read access? Double S, what I've given. I've not observed it. Okay, this is fine. Let me give the same here. Okay. So I've created three roles here. One role for full control, another one for process database, and another one for read access. Now, how to test these roles? What will happen if I have a particular role selected? To test these roles, we have, further just process or deploy the cube. Deploying is enough, but always better if you process the complete cube. I don't know when I last processed this and whether the data is updated or not. So let me process it once, which is not going to take more time. And here I'm going to show you how to test the roles. If the roles are working fine here in the test part, then it will work fine after deploying to the server. So let me execute it now. Run. So the cube is processed and we'll have latest data. Let us reconnect once. And here, if you see, what is the, for color product, we have a filter. We filtered the data, right? So here it is showing all the product, all the colors. How can I test my role, whether it is working fine or not? So to do the same, you have an option here, change user. So change user is the option which you have to use. You can go for this user or other user or set the role. You select the role, you have three different. I'll go for read access. The cube using the credentials of the following users either does not have access to MSBI database or database does not exist. Oops. 1 second, let me look into this issue. This is first time I'm facing. Let me tell you the problem here. When I was defining this role, I was pointing to different server. Now I changed the server. That's why everything is gone here. So let me change it. Read. So you understood, right? I was pointing to localhost / SQL Server dev instance. When I got that issue, I changed it back to localhost instance. So that's why this problem is coming. So read definition, dimension data. Let me go to color and let me have black and white. I'll remove all other. This is the advanced tab. Okay, fine. So I will explain you what was the problem. When I was defining the roles, it was pointing to SQL localhost SQL DB. When I got that issue saying that already MSBI solution is having, the server is having MSBI database and so on, I pointed to the other instance in the same computer. That's why the roles whatever I've defined is not present now. So let me process the cube once now. So it is successful. Let me connect the cube. Let me go to the dim color, dim product color. And if you see, when I select the user, read access, this guy, I have provided only two colors in the deny access list, right? In the deny list, I selected the remaining colors. If you go and see here, colors, where is the color? Yeah, color attribute. You can see attribute security defined. So you can see only two colors are selected, black and white, and the remaining colors are in denied member list. So that is why when I selected that user here, that particular role here, and when I drag and drop color, it is showing only those two colors. So this is how you can restrict. You will have all the data, the complete whole data in one cube, and you can provide restriction to the users. Like only Indian users can see only data that is of country India. So for example, I can name it as after modifying, let me modify it. I'm checking this. Okay, I have only black color now. So what I will rename it as black products data. So for this role, if I add 10 members, those guys can see only black color information. And if I drag and drop products next to that, that is English product name, it will show only black color products and white color products. This is damn easy, restricting this data from the users. Users can't view it if you set the roles. And there is no limit, like you can set only 2 roles, 3 roles, 5 roles, or 10 roles. You can create n number of roles here. So let me show you an example here. I don't have proper one here. Okay, I will do one thing. I will rename it as 2001 sales. This is the role name. The team which is analyzing 2001 sales. Oops, I changed it completely. Let me revert it. I'll show you an example here. I'm creating a role with the read definition. The cube will have full read definition. Here I can select read, and the dimensions will have full read definition. Here in this, in time dimension or ship date, due date, or any one thing. Due date, if I go to the year, if I select only 2001, the remaining things will go to denied member list. So this is fine. A role is created. This role I'm changing it to 2001 sales. Imagine, try to apply the same for countries. Okay, I don't have country attribute here. That's why I'm not explaining you that. You can get that by adding employee or any other dimension. I'm adding one more member. Again, read definition of the cube I have to set to read, and the dimension data I'm going for what is the due date, right? This is what I have taken. Due date, I'm taking calendar year. I'm taking only 2002. So a new role is created, and I'm renaming this role to 2002 sales. Imagine you created 4 roles like this for each year, 2001, 2, 3, and 4. And if you deploy this or just process this, then if you add some members to this 2001 roles, those guys can see only 2001 data when they drag and drop due calendar year attribute from due date. Let me show you that now. I'm reconnecting it. I'm selecting the role. This role is no more exist now. It's not exist. So what I have to do is I have to select the correct role. I'll go for 2001. This is fine. And now from due date, I'm dragging calendar year. So the people who are added to this particular role can see only 2001 data. The replace, imagine this 2001 is India, country India. So the people are from India or who are added to this role India can see only the sales that happened in India. So this is how you can restrict the data. Okay, you can provide security to the data using roles. And how to add members to these roles? You can directly add members to these roles here. In this membership, you can add roles. But the problem here is if you add members in your development environment, the same will not be available in the production. In development, you will have your colleague members, the people who are working with you. But in production, you will have your client members. So how to provide how to add members to each role? So for that, once you deploy the cube into the production server using any one of the technique we discussed in last session, let me go to see localhost instance, MS SQL instance, not a SQL Server dev instance. You can see MSBI database under roles. You can see the roles we created. So by clicking on any one role like 2001 sales, you will have all the same tabs whatever we have in the role wizard, role creation wizard. So in the members, you just click and add the members whom you want to add to this particular list. If I select everyone, that means everyone can see 2001 sales information. Okay. So this is how you can provide security. Imagine, let me take an notepad here. Imagine I have 5 countries data: India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and Nepal. So India is one attribute member, Pak, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bangladesh. So what people will do is, if they want to provide, if they don't want to show other countries' information to the guys, like for the Indian guys, they should be able to see only the sales that happened in India. What they will do is they will create India sales one role, Pak sales one role, Sri sales one role. That means Sri Lankan sales. Nepal sales one role, Bangladesh sales one role. So in this Indian sales role, what they will do is they will go to country attribute. They will check only country India. They will uncheck the remaining countries. For Pakistan sales role, they will check only Pak. So if you have 50 members working in the company and 10 guys from each country, they will add 10 guys who are working from India into this particular role using the membership option here. In this membership option here, they will add 10 members who are working in India to the India sales role. Let's say Rupesh is added, Lokesh is added, and so on. Amir is added, Sohel is added, and so on. Malinga, and who is the captain? Okay, let's say Jay Surya, and so on are added. So this is how the roles will be created, and the restriction to the data will be applied, and the members to the roles will be added. This is the place where you can add members to the roles. If I add only Rupesh here, then only Rupesh can see 2001 sales. Okay, or whenever Rupesh logs in, he can see only 2001 sales. This is better statement than the earlier one. And if I add Rupesh name to 2002 sales here, the role, then whenever Rupesh logs in, he can see only 2002 sales. If you add to both the things, then he can see both the data. Don't get confused that which one will be taken first. Both the data can be seen based on the role. Okay, so this is how the roles can be created and the members can be assigned to the roles. So whenever you create roles, you will just create the skeleton. You don't add members to that. Why? Because the roles, the login IDs, the user IDs will be changing from development to production, or the list of people to whom we have to provide the access for a particular role through a particular role will be changing. So what we will do is we will create the skeleton, like what permissions to be given, what needs to be denied. And then once it is deployed to the production, people will be maintaining Excel sheet like 50 users for India sales and 50 users for Pakistan sales. They will add all the roles to the particular, all the members to the particular role. So this is how they will add members, and they will create roles to provide security to your cube and the data in it. So this is about roles. Now let's see about aggregations, and we can wind up the class after discussing about aggregation. So we will be left with calculations, KPIs, and actions. Apart from that, we covered everything in SSAs. So from after we finish these three, then we can jump into either MDX or SSAs depending on the convenience. Okay. Let's start discussing about aggregations. There is a good relation between, good link between partitions and aggregations. What partitions will do? Partitions will decrease the speed, time that is taking by the queue processing, and also by querying. So if you write an MDX query, it will take less time if you partition your data in a proper way. And if your cube is taking 2 hours or 3 hours to process, and if you partition the data properly, then it will take less than the time what it is taking normal. Or I can say it as a normal time what it is taking. So Partitions will improve both the performance, like queue processing and also querying. These aggregations will be created on top of partitions. That's the first link between these two, on top of partitions. And these aggregations will decrease the querying time. If the query is taking huge time, then if you create proper aggregations for that, then it will take less time. So what these aggregations will do? Let's see about these aggregations. So this is the one, usage based aggregations, which we may not discuss at this point of time. This is the first one. First icon is the one to create or design aggregations. If you click on this, it is asking for what all keys or for what all dimensions you want to create aggregations. Okay, why it is showing like this? I mean, what it is, what is the meaning of this particular page? So if you think that you are gonna see the data calendar year wise more frequently than anything else, then create full aggregations for this. Okay, so calendar year wise, if you are gonna, so if you feel that you're gonna use this calendar year from order date more frequently, then set full aggregation. Full aggregations is nothing but it will create maximum aggregations. Maximum aggregations for different combinations. What is maximum aggregations, or what is aggregations first of all? It is gonna create aggregated data like group by statement. We discussed about it a lot, right? How the data will be processed, and while processing, what will happen. First part is pulling the data. Next one is creating aggregations. Aggregations means if you have year attribute, it will create group by statement on the year and store that information. So it will take default aggregation design if you don't create your own aggregation design. The memory will be used for the default aggregation design that is designed by SSA server. And if you feel that these are all attributes for on which you will query the data more frequently, like year wise data, you have so many reports where you are gonna see year wise data, then select year things, year attribute for full aggregation. And English product name wise, you will see the data more frequently, so select this. And color wise, you will see the data. And if you feel that you are not going to see the data based on any particular attribute, then make it as none. Let's say size. Generally, you don't see the data size wise. List price wise, you don't see. Size range, you don't see. Stock level, you don't see. Record point, you don't see. Like this. Here, in this page, you will select what is the attributes for which you will go for full aggregation. Default means it will take the best. SSA is default aggregation design. Whatever it is assigned for this attribute, it will take. Or if you want full aggregations on this, you select full. If you want no aggregations on this, you select none. And I don't know what is this unrestricted. I will get back to you on that. I've never tried that. I've never used that. Okay. Now, if you click on next, it is saying this is the fact table you are having. You have to see the count. How many records are there in the fact table? Until you see the count, this button will not be enabled. So you have to see the count. Once the count is seen, click on next. This is the main page where you will design the aggregations. How you want to design the aggregations. There are 4 ways of designing the aggregations. One is do not design any aggregations. That means I don't want any aggregations. You don't design anything. If to say that, why you have to come here? It is of no use, right? So by default, it will create aggregations. If you don't want to design any aggregations, you can click on this do not design any aggregations tab. I click stop. That means I will click on start and you start creating aggregations as many possible until I click stop. I have not clicked stop, but it is stopped already. Why? Because the data that is present is just 60,000 records, and for that 60,000 records, SSA server is saying I don't need any aggregations. If you have more data, then you will the aggregations will be take a real-time scenario like 50 crore or 500 crores of records. Then it will create a lot of aggregations. On top here, it will show how much percentage of performance gain, and on horizontal x-axis it will show how much memory it has occupied. how much extra memory it has taken to store the aggregated data. And the third one is until performance gain reaches the percentage, whatever you specify. Default one is 30, and if you specify 60, you click on count until it reaches 60% performance gain. Like if a query is taking 1 minute, then it will be 40 seconds or less than 40 seconds. That is 60% performance gain. So until it reaches to gain 60% of the performance, then the existing one, how many aggregations I need to design, create that meaning. That is the meaning of this option. This option is estimated storage reaches 100 MB. That means create as many aggregations. I don't bother about performance gain and all. What is the percentage of performance gain and all. Until the size that is required to store the aggregated data reaches 100 MB, continue creating aggregations. Or you can set it in GB also. So for big databases, you will go for GB. Unfortunately, the data what we have here is pretty less. It is negligible, I can say. So that is why it is not creating any aggregations. Here for you guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect to SQL Server. I'll try to insert some records into the table, okay, so that at least you can see one aggregation design. So let me go to Adventure Works database where my fact table is there, fact internet sales. So here I'm going to fact internet sales. I'm creating this, I'm taking the script of this fact internet sales. Why? Because there are so many constraints defined on that. So I don't want to disturb all those constraints. So I'm renaming it as fact internet sales underscore temp, a new table I'm going to create. And I don't want this constraint here. I don't want any constraint. There are so many constraints here, right? Foreign key and so on. I don't want all those things. I created a table called fact internet sales 10. Now let me insert data into this. Insert into so and so. Select start from fact internet sales. Right? I created a table and I'm inserting data into this. I have 60,000 records. Let me execute the same query again and again. I'll be getting more and more data into this. Now I'm copying the same data into the same table so that it will be faster. What we call it is called progressive increment or something. Progression. I don't remember it. So I'm inserting the data into the fact internet sales temp table. Now it has something around 6 lakh records, 6 or 7 lakhs records. Let me make it at least 20 lakhs. It may take some time, but better it will show, it will give you a proper idea for us on aggregations. Now this many rows impacted, that is 7,24,000. That means 7,24,000 plus 7,24,000. That means records are available in the database. Now what I have to do is I have to go to this cube, go to data source view, where I have this fact internet sales. This is the one. Replace this table. I showed you this example. I mean, this option, replace table with another table. This is the best example where you can use that. Fact internet sales temp I'm selecting. So this one will be replaced with the existing one. And you can see the remaining stuff will be as is. Nothing will be changed. If you see here, this will remain the same. No issues. But the source table will be fact internet sales. Okay, the records are inserted. Now what I have to do, I have to process this. Let me process this cube. So to demonstrate on aggregations, what I've done here is I have taken a new table without keys, constraints and so on, and I copied the data from old table to new table so many times so that I got some 50,000 record, 15 lakh records or so. Did I create any partitions? Okay, everything is fine. Everything is fine. Now let me go and see the data. It should be more now. Don't know whether this is the table. The table name is fact internet sales temp. Friendly name is this one. Fine. Now let's see how many aggregations will be created on this data. So I'm going to aggregations tab here. I'm creating a new design, and this is still remaining the same. So if I see the count, it is still giving the same count. So let me see the count now, the fresh count. Yeah, this is the count of records. Okay. Now click on next. Now if I click on this, estimated storage reaches 100 MB. If I click on start, let's see, at least one aggregation will be created on. Yes, it is creating. So it has created 14 aggregations and the optimization level is 99%. The performance gain will be 99% and it occupied 72.2 MB of the size. Now I'm giving performance wise. I'm giving 60%. So if I click on 60% performance gain, reset, start, it will create as many aggregations that are possible to gain 60% of the performance. To get 60% of the performance, it requires only 2 aggregations, and the gain reaches is 70%, not 60% also. It reaches 70%, and the occupied memory is 16.7 MB. Now let's see the third option. Until I click stop, it will be creating aggregations until I click stop, and the maximum whatever possible, it will create that. It has taken 14. 99% gain, 72.2 MB size. Now if I'm going back here, I'm giving only 10 MB size. What are all the number of aggregations? I have only 10 MB size available in my server. So create a number of aggregations which can be finished in 10 MB size. So if you see 5 aggregations will be created, which will give you 40% performance gain and occupies 10 MB size, 10.7 MB. So this is how, I mean, generally the default one people go for is 60% performance gain. This is the best one. So click this, click, run this. Once it is done, select this finish button. Now the aggregate design, whatever we designed is assigned to this particular fact internet sales measure group. Okay. I have only one partition, that is why it has by default taken that partition. If I have more partitions in this particular measure group, I'm saying, okay, if I have more partitions, then this is the place where you can add more partitions. This is the same design for more partition. Same design means similar kind of queries will be applied on the full data. So here you can check or uncheck everything, whatever you want. Click on OK. All those partitions will be having the same aggregation design. Okay. Better I will show by creating one simple partition here. Fact internet sales. Find tables. See here. The fact internet sales table is currently used by the fact internet sales partition. That means this one, and you have not supplied a query to restrict it rows. That means it is table binding. Table binding, if you have one table binding, then you cannot create partitions for that. First, what you have to do, you have to change it to query binding, and then only you can do the job. Sales amount greater than 1000. Okay. This is the first partition. Let me create second partition. Sales amount less than or equal to 1000. Okay. Now I have two partitions for the same measure group, and one is assigned with the default the aggregation design I have selected, and the second one with unassigned aggregation design. So how to make it with how to assign the same one what we created for this one. So to do that, go here, select the partitions and click on OK. You can see both fact internet sales and fact internet sales temp are having same aggregation design. Or while creating the aggregation design, it will prompt you for which partition you want to design this aggregation. If you click, if you select both, then by default for both it will be taken. So let me see the count. It is there. This time I'm asking for 100%, 100 MB size coverage. So a new one I created for those two measure groups. So both the partitions, both the partitions are added to this new aggregation design. The old one is empty now. So you can delete it. So this is how you can create aggregations and you can assign partitions to the aggregations. There is one more option called usage based optimization. Here, the second one, if you click this, the second one you can see, right? Usage based optimization. This usage based optimization is slightly different from the normal aggregation design. Normal aggregation design. The difference is this usage based optimization is dependent on how the users are querying the data. What is the frequently used queries and what is the less frequently used queries in a particular period of time. So here you can select from January 2010 to January 2013, what is the frequently used queries and what is the less frequently used queries. If you select the dates and if you click on next, it will show you the queries. You can select the queries and assign the aggregations. So for doing so, remember one point, for doing so, you have to set some properties in the database level. So this is your database properties. Second. So you have to set some properties for making the usage based optimization work. Those properties are, go to properties in the analysis services, and here you can find some options. Let me show you that. Yeah. Log, query log and so on, set it to true, and where to store the data. Select the server name here. Select the database as AdventureWorks. Test connection is fine. So here you have to set this one to true first. Create query log table and query log connection to set some connection, and the table name you can set this as log test. So what will happen is from now onwards, if you execute any query here on MDX part, executing any query in the sense even dragging and dropping is a query. If you drag and drop any query like this is a query, or if you drag and drop any product, anything, any attribute to any field, any measure. So if you execute, whenever you drag and drop, an MTX query will be created, and that one will hit your cube database and fetch the data. So this one will be considered as query, and those queries will be stored as part of the as per the definition we have given here. So this is set to true, and this is set to localhost SQL server, and this is the table name I have given, that is log test. So as per this, it has to go here, and there should be a table called log test created here. So if not, then here you can see a log test table is created, and this particular user has executed a query, and you will have all the information that is related to this particular query. So based on this, the usage based aggregation works. So to make this thing simple or clear, to set the usage based aggregation or to define usage based aggregation, you are clear about aggregation design here, right? Now let me start from usage based aggregation design. I mean, you might got confused. So usage based aggregation is nothing but how frequently a query is being hit by the users. Let's say in 1 year of time, if the users hit some thousands of queries or some lakhs of queries, what is the most frequently used query? For that query, if you create aggregation design, then the chance of hitting the same query in near future is also very high. If a query hit 1 lakh times in last 1 year, and the same number of times may be hit in the next year, all right? So to define aggregations for such kind of queries, this usage based aggregation will be used. So what you have to select is begin date. You can begin from anyone. End date, it's always better to give end date, like this. And users, you can select or not. If not, all the users queries will be fetched. You can see only one query is executed in this particular time span whatever I've given, and only one time it is occurred. If I execute more queries here in browser or wherever, then all the queries will be listed here. So if you want, you can select it and you can create aggregations based on the occurrences here. Based on the occurrences, you will design aggregations. If a query occurrence is some million times or some 5 lakh times, 2 lakhs times, then you will create aggregations for this. You will check this, click on next, and it will go to the same page. Next, performance gain reaches 100%, super good. Click on next. So for creating that, for improving the performance of that particular query, you need to create one aggregation. Okay, then fine, create it and click on finish. So this is how the aggregation, usage based aggregation will be created. Usage based aggregations is nothing but what is the most frequently used queries on these particular measure groups. So I have in the particular time span, if you select it, I have only one query in the database and that one query will be shown here. So if you take this one out, take colors into picture and product line into columns. So all these things are queries. Okay. Now you might be getting more than one. Let me see in data, check in database first. Yeah, I have two queries added now. Let me go to this, select these two. In the time span, I will leave it. So I will need to list all the queries. I have two queries. Average duration, it is taking this much of time. So let us try to improve the performance. Count, next, start. Yeah, it needs two aggregations to improve the performance. Merge with the existing one and finish. Now if you process the queue, it should take less time than the normal one. So this is how usage based aggregations will be created. There are two types of aggregations. One is normal aggregations and another one is usage based aggregations. For usage based aggregations, you need to make sure that these following properties are set. Log query. This one should be set to true, and this connection should be there where you want to save the queries. And if it is database, then provide the table name here. If it is something, I mean, generally people go for database only to store all the queries. It will be stored here. After setting this, run the cube. I mean, test the cube in and out by executing all the reports, which will load all the queries into this particular table, whatever you have given. Then go for usage based aggregation. Select the most frequently hit queries and create aggregations for that. This one will improve the cube, I mean, performance, or at least the reports which are hitting the cube very frequently. So those performance will be improved for sure by creating the usage based aggregations. And Overall, if you go for any aggregation, any type of aggregation, the query time, the query performance will be improved. So this is about aggregations, and we will see about calculations, KPIs, and actions in next session. With that, we can put an end to this SSAS part. Thank you, guys.